Hello everybody, this is Phreak bringing you another audio commentary for WCReplays.com. This audio is copyrighted by the site, so please don't steal it or else we're going to get you. This is a game that is Elf versus Orc. It is Czech versus Violet. Again, this is a game where I haven't watched it first, but it was a pretty long game and they were good hero levels, so it looked like it was sort of worth doing. First run through, I do know what strategy is going to be. I realize that it is a sort of bear strategy from the elf. And we'll be watching this from the elf perspective and completely ignoring the orc, just so that we can really focus on what the elf is trying to do and go from there. So let's pause at the 15-second mark, the 1x speed. Again, Czech's point of view with Fog of War on. And I'm going to talk about probably his scouting and his production and really the timing. I feel like talons have been done to death, and while there are a couple of different ways people do it, Moon, for example, playing double staff, Demon Hunter, Beastmaster, just running around with the two heroes and doing everything like that repeatedly and ad nauseum. Yeah, people do that, but I feel like bears are more interesting and they're a bit more fun in their play style. I've gotten extremely bored of talons as of a long time ago, and I don't even use them anymore because I don't really play anymore. So hopefully this is enough banter to get you all to the 15-second mark. So let's go ahead and unpause in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so you see right off the bat, the build order and build placement is very, very standard. Again, it's a what could be Demon Hunter opener. It's just a standard altar Moonwell construction. Again, the Moonwell next to the Tree of Life makes a full block that grunts and a Blademaster can't get through. The Moonwell is touching the Altar of Elders on a diagonal or maybe with one square overlap. Either way, that's again going to block off a Blademaster or grunt. And this altar on the bottom right is overlapping one square on this tree, or even still if it's just a diagonal, again it still blocks off the movement. So what's going to be interesting is the rest of Czech's production here. You can see that he's not getting a fast Ancient of War, so it looks like he's either tagging right away or going Huntresses. We're going to see which one he chooses in a little bit. If he does go for Huntresses, makes the Huntress always got to try to fit the Ancient of War up on that top tree, sort of the one that's sticking out to the up and left of the Tree of Life, and yeah, he just ran the Wisp right by it, so that's the tree I'm talking about. And then a Hunter's Hall as far right as possible, and then down touching the Tree of Life, sufficiently such that a Ancient of Lore can fit above the gold mine. And of course, there's plenty of room now right here below the Tree of Life for an Ancient of War, sorry, an Ancient of Lore or a shop as well. I don't believe there's quite enough space to fit two buildings there, but I could be completely wrong, and you can all laugh at me for being a noob. But one thing to note is that he was absolutely certain that this Moonwell was not below the Tree of Life at all. And that's actually very, very significant. That's actually very important because that allows him to build his Ancient of Lore very far to the right, right above the Moonwell without getting stuff blocked off, really. It's actually impossible for him to block off inside his base, and that is actually very significant. So he scouts with 2 wisps, which is just to sort of know what's going on because he's going Keeper of the Grove. And now you notice that his creep pattern is actually very, very specific, and that was for a reason. Or sorry, not his creep pattern, his scouting pattern. He wanted to get as much lumber as possible early on so that he could build his buildings. But then he scouted both directions just enough time so that he knew where his opponent was. And sorry, 1 second. So he knew where his opponent was, where he was going to be, at least by process of elimination. Otherwise, he'd have had a 1 in 2 chance of actually finding him. So you can see he hits it once, hits the entangle, he's going to kill that peon off. And really, because this orc is not teching yet, he could either have to delay tech even longer by replacing the peon, or he's simply going to have really poor lumber upon hitting tier 2. But really, one of the great things about this Keeper of the Grove first is that you either, again, do a lot of damage to your opponent's wood production and gold production, because he will probably have to replace those peons, which will generally defeat the yeah, here we go, and he's going to get this peon again. And he hits it first and then entangles. That's very, very intelligent, again, because that's just how it works. You're not going to be able to get the kill many times without doing that. Generally, just they have just enough HP that if you entangle and then start swinging, he's going to survive. The entangle's gonna drop off. He's gonna have 1 hit left on him, and if you entangled him right by a burrow, that means he's going to get into the burrow and you're not going to kill him. And it's all kinds of frustrating sitting there taking a ton of damage, and then oh sorry, you're SOL right there. So he's gonna go back, and now that he's with speed, he's not afraid of the Blademaster, but he's starting for some creep checks right here. If we turn off fog, we see that the Blademaster is actually not visible on fog because he's windwalked. But if we switch view real quick, we see that he's actually right behind him, interestingly enough. So here we go. So you saw earlier that Czech had built that harness hall in Ancient of War, and again, there is enough space here for a building construction to the left of this Tree of Life. And there we go. He's going to barely get out. There's the windwalk, but he should be fine. Doesn't need to block anything with the Huntress. With boots of speed, he does outrun the hunt, so he's not going to slow himself down accidentally. And again, he's going to be fine. He should be able to survive these last few hits. But only 2 peons dead so far, which is not super great. But oh crap, that's a Blademaster. And actually, that was actually very close. Violet almost got that kill. But going back to Czech's base though. Of course, he already has a Hunter's Hall, so he doesn't need to build one halfway through Tier 2. He built the shop in what I think is actually a little bit late. He's really been busy microing and whatnot, so he didn't really have time to build the shop in time, which would have allowed him to actually buy a staff of preservation a bit earlier and harass a little bit faster with that staff. As it stands, he probably won't have to deal with Hex or Ensnare until he gets it anyway, but it's just a convenience thing in that he has to be back in his base at a certain time to pick up that staff. And that certain time is now necessarily later than it would have been otherwise, which again can make a difference. Another important thing that he's done is he's picked up Ultra Vision. That's extremely, extremely important for Nut Elf in general, and especially with this kind of a strategy where you're really trying to harass very hard. You notice that he's actually down to only 4 peons on lumber now, which is very significant. It's actually a very, very bad lumber count. If we check what his production is, he's got room for everything but the grunt upgrade. Just barely has enough lumber. And that's just not really all that happy. But entangle and focus on the grunt, and again he casts the other entangle because he just needed to. That's fine. He picks off a 1 grunt. Of course, the Blademaster chases the Keeper of the Grove around. You have to be very, very cautious to not lose your Keeper to the Blademaster. It can happen to you very easily. You have to be extremely cautious not to lose your stuff. And it's not necessarily super difficult to make sure that happens. But again, he's going to have boots of speed, so you need to have boots of speed as well. You have 3 armor and 500 hit points. You're a weak hero. Just be sure that you're careful. And honestly, your playstyle should be strong enough such that your opponent's not going to be like level 3 and have a ton of claws of attack and stuff. So you should be fine. You truthfully should be fine. And if you're not, I have to say you've probably made some mistakes to make yourself not fine. So here you see the level 3 Blademaster and all the damage output and all that glory. He's going to lose that Huntress. I don't know why he didn't micro it at all, but there's the Hex. He's going to focus that down and probably actually kill that Grunt because Violet actually microed that as well. And yeah, very, very intelligent play there. You notice that he saw the Grunt going for it and everything else. He's like, I think the Blademaster's here. and he had to run away and he barely dodged Hex. That at first surprised me, like, why are you running away? It's just a Grunt. Oh, right, there's a Windwalk Blademaster. So that's one of the things that you have to think about as a player is you might be being attacked by something invisible. Normally this is actually, if you play Dota, for example, it's actually very easy to sort of pick up on these kind of things where someone's like being way too aggressive than they're normally supposed to be. It's because someone's in the forest trying to gank you. And the same sort of thing can happen here when you've got a Blademaster hiding in the shadows. If they're being way more aggressive than they're supposed to be, and you don't think they're just a terrible player, ooh, nice staff. Like I said, if they're being more aggressive than they're supposed to be, and they're actually decent at the game, they're probably doing something aggressive with something invisible or just out of sight. So again, be careful of that. And I know I've said the point like 3 times, but it is really worth stressing that many times to really iron that one in. It is significant. If you lose your hero because, oh right, he's invisible, there are ways around that, at least ever so slightly. So another really cute point that you can do here, and again, the Hunter's Hall off enough such that these units can get out